Right, PJ Net Live with Del Didway on Tuesday night. We have our studio, we have our football field background. Del Didway is standing by in the green room, and we'll be ready to go. We are ready to go. Good evening and welcome to PJ Net Live. It's Renew US, and every Tuesday we do this, and Del Didway is our featured guest every Tuesday. We are honored. We're fortunate. Del is a dynamic individual. He is the author of several books, and he goes out primarily. His background as a sports writer in the news is the origin of his career. But he goes out and interviews these athletes. And today's blog, which you can find at deldidway.com, I'll let him tell us more about it. Del is standing by in our green room. There he is from the great state of Ohio. Del, you go out and interview athletes of all particular football, baseball, you name it, car racing. But you interviewed some pretty well-known names, and to get an interview with the quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers is quite a catch, and that interview in part will be featured in your upcoming book. Tell us more about your blog today.
Thanks, Coach. It's always good to be with you. I got to put my glasses on so I can see what I'm doing here, because everything's getting blurry, and we are coming to you from Ohio, and that's something kind of an odd happening today. The sun was out, and which was a great day. It's been raining for nonstop, seems like, for weeks. But anyway, we had a great day here in Southern Ohio. I've been fortunate to be able to land some time with some of the bigger names in professional sports and professional football in particular. And a lot of times quarterbacks are off limits. They do at the press conference, and that's it. Unless you're the big time, unless you're big time TV or something like that, and then they'll give you a few minutes. But I've been fortunate in my approach to be able to get personal time, one-on-one time, not just in the press conference, but personal one-on-one time with some of the bigger names. And I was fortunate enough to request some time with Ben, and contacted the right folks and put in my request. Normally I don't put in a request, but somebody of that stature and that position, I better seek some approval. And so it took me several emails to the guy and who's over the media, and he said to get with him, sometime after the game, and we'll see what happens. Unfortunately, Pittsburgh won that game, so they were in a better mood. And
it does make it easier after a winning game. I've had to interview coaches after a losing game, and it's tough.
So fortunately, got him after a game, after a win. Had described into the gentleman who gave me the okay with the Steelers what I wanted to talk to him about, and he stood there the whole time and made sure everything was good. So it went off well. And the next season, they remember I was able to get some time with Ben again. Take some pictures and so forth like that. And Ben opened up to me about some things that were controversial in his past, and he was very open to talk to me about it.
Well, you go into some of that in your blog, because the guy that we know today hasn't always been such. Mm-hmm. There was a time.
Yeah, he went through a rough spell for a few years there in Pittsburgh when he first came into the league. And I did a piece for Athletes in Action about a year and a half ago on this, and it went off like lightning. I mean, I had so much response. It was on Facebook, shared 3,000 times, and had a lot of comments, a lot of negative comments from people, because either you love the Steelers or you hate the Steelers. Ben's a lightning rod because of his past. And so some folks on the post didn't, they wanted to keep bringing up the past. I don't know what happened. I wasn't there. The only thing I know is that there was no charges brought. Everything was dropped. There was no evidence. So you speculate. And where there's smoke, there's fire. I'm not going to judge, because I've done things stupid. I've done stupid things. So, but I could tell talking to him, and I don't judge people, but I could tell talking to him, when he looks in your eyes and he gets teary and he wells up, and he tells you how he feels about things, you kind of take it as genuine. And so we connected well. He described, he didn't really get into the specifics because that was part of the permission for the interview. I would not touch on specifics, or else I wouldn't get time with him.
Right.
But Ben knew what I was talking about.
Right.
And he told about how he, had to come back and he had to get back to his roots because he grew up in Lima, Ohio. In fact, his pastor's dad went to our church.
Uh-huh.
So that was my icebreaker with him.
Okay.
And so I said, hey, such and such. Oh, yeah. So he said, how's he doing? I said, well, he passed about a year ago. Oh, that's awful. So that was an icebreaker.
Yeah.
And it's always good to have that.
Mm-hmm.
And, goes with a sense of trust. And
Yes.
so, but he was open up to me and very, very, I believe, very honest and very sincere when he spoke to me about some of the things that happened.
In your blog, let me see if I can bring that up.
I can't see you again.
Yeah, I know. Well, in the blog, it's
that's the White House. I'm going there next week.
Yeah, well, we'll we'll go back to what we had. Anyway, in the blog, it says basically between 2006 and 2010. Ben's life started basically to unravel, to quote your blog. In that period, he was actually suspended for 4 games and ordered to undergo professional behavioral evaluations. So the remedy for his transgression seems to be some professional help, go to a psychiatrist, punishment, but that, as your blog indicates, isn't what turned his life around.
No, I mean, he it all started when he had this motorcycle accident, and then he had some allegations against him and some other allegations, and just started to snowball. And then the league has to do something because they like their players to have a good reputation, right? So they punished him a little bit. But he said that he was, during that time, is when he was in his car and heard the song, as I described, Lose My Soul by Toby Mac come on. He said he just started weeping because he said he had everything. He's got, as that song says, I don't want to say, the world would lose my soul. He said, I had everything.
And he did. He did.
Fame, fortune, the money, glamour. If you win titles in Pittsburgh, you are a star. So,
how many Super Bowls has he been in?
He's won 2 rings there, but even if you win 1 in Pittsburgh, you're considered a legend. So, very loyal town, very close knit city, very pretty city. So he heard that song come over, and he thought, he went back to his roots. He said, I was brought up better than this. I know right from wrong. And he said, right there in his car, he had to make things right. And he's a different player. When you look at him and talk to him, I've been in the clubhouse with him a few times. I hear him talk. I don't hear some of the other language some of the other players use it. And he has kids. He wants to be an example for them. So he has something to play for. And again, one person, I forget the specifics, it just came to mind, put on the Facebook post that I wrote that kept bringing up the past. And somebody jumped in and said, well, do you believe in the sinner at the cross? And this other person jumped in and said, yeah, he asked for forgiveness, and Ben's never asked for forgiveness. So I jumped in. I really jump in. And I just said, no, the thief never asked for forgiveness. He said, remember me. He didn't say, forgive me, I'm sorry. He said, remember me when I come to my kingdom. So, I think Ben did the right thing. I think he let the system play out. He turned back to God, and he's a good example. And that's just a redemption story, that how a song that you hear can really have an impact on you.
From the sound of the blog, it was like he had to pull off the road almost. It was such an emotional, spiritual crisis.
Yeah, he said he was parked.
Yeah. I know, I can't remember who said it, but there's a quote out there. If you want to test a man's character, you don't tempt him with this, that, and the other. You tempt him with power. Now, when you get making that kind of money, that money becomes power. You get special privileges. And you start thinking you are somebody. And many a professional athlete and anybody else who's achieved such public notoriety has begun to live their life in such a way that they're above the norms and the laws of that we all, agree with.
Mm-hmm.
And, he was raised different than that. And I think that illustrates or highlights or emphasizes the importance of child rearing, because even if they go astray later, they've got something to come back to.
Yeah, and he touched on that. There's, I forget the other chapter. His first story is in chapter 3, but there's another chapter about Ben in First Down Devotions that comes out August 5th that deals with his father and how he was a good spiritual leader in a home, and how Ben wants to be like that, or be half the man that his dad is. So he has a lot to look up to. He said, he's made mistakes. Everybody does. He's sought forgiveness, and he's moved on. And so that's why the Steelers are kind of reluctant to discuss that, because their attitude is the same as God's: is, hey, we've dealt with this. It's in the past. Let's move on.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with that, because, and I told Ben that, I said, hey, I'm not looking to make you look bad. I'm trying to tell a story of redemption and forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
And he totally got that. So,
well, I think one of the struggles that we have as Christians is not so much asking for forgiveness and repenting, because God promises that, but we tend not to forgive ourselves, and the world certainly doesn't seem to want to be very willing to forgive. But when you think about it, the football team, what they really care about is what you do on the field. But when what you do off the field affects the team, it matters. So I think it's in their interest to say, he's a new man.
Oh yeah, that's why nobody's picked up Colin Kaepernick. There's not, because what comes with him is bad news,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why Michael Vick had a hard time getting picked back up because of what he did. So yeah, baggage in the NFL or any professional sport, because a lot of it's image. But some teams, some players get second chances,
Mm-hmm.
and if they keep their nose clean and do the right thing, then they'll be productive. So. As far as forgiveness, some people can get it, others can't. Poor Pete Rose can't get forgiveness for anything, but somebody else can, who's done a whole lot worse. So it's just a matter of choice, and a matter of who you are.
In your blog today, which is actually an excerpt of your upcoming book, First Down Devotions, you quote him as saying, "My faith means everything to me. I play for him first."
Yeah, and he was very open about it. I mean, some of these guys, and not a lot of them, except for them I talked to, they'll kind of whisper it, they kind of don't want to be heard say it, talking about it. But he was very open. He's standing around with a lot of guys around him, TV cameras around him, and saying that. So he was very bold about it, very open about it, and didn't back down at all. And I always like that when a player does that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Ben grew up and he played for Miami of Ohio, which is near Cincinnati. So he played kind of close to us.
And it's in your book, and I've read some of the chapters of your book, upcoming First Down Devotions. One of the things that I liked about your book is the format. You basically have you lead off each chapter with the story, the actual story, but you don't stop there, and you always put, even in an interview with an athlete, that some are more further along, let's just say further along in their discipleship walk than others. Mm-hmm. But you always find scriptural references, but you don't stop there. Then you go on to Break the Huddle, or a little section afterwards. And here in your blog, you do the same thing. Mm-hmm. What does this mean for us? And you say, admit to ourselves that we all have a tendency to sin.
Yeah, I mean, and everybody's different. I mean, I was talking to a member of the Detroit Tigers this weekend up in Cleveland, and he said something to me that Tubby Smith said to me, because I said, what part of your journey do you struggle with? And he goes, I play baseball, I get frustrated, sometimes my mouth gets me in trouble. Mm-hmm. And said, I'll say things I shouldn't say. And another player told me one time, it's not lust, but looking at the other sex when they're around at a summer baseball game. Everybody has their weaknesses. So if you admit your weakness and you know what it is, or have an idea of what it is, I think that's the first step in overcoming that.
Well, and then second step would be stay away from environments that are going to have that kind of thing. It doesn't. I love the illustration that you use in your blog, and I presume in your book as well. When that quarterback is being rushed, he doesn't take those guys on. He gets out of there.
Yeah.
Scramble out of the pocket.
Yeah, Roger Staubach was great at that too. So yeah, you don't sit there and if your problem's alcohol, you shouldn't go into a bar at night. So it just depends on your weakness, knowing your weakness, and knowing how to deal with it. I think so. Just get away from it.
And then you go on to say, be accountable. And I think this is very important in men's ministry in particular. Is one, share your struggles with Christian friends who understand the struggle and are not judgmental, but at the same time, I remember an incident. I meet with a men's group on Saturdays, and one of the other members, one of the guys there is he drinks, and one of the other guys says, so and so, you still struggling with alcohol? And I said, no, there's no struggle at all. He just gives in.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's something you touched on that a lot of gentlemen have told me. Clint Hurdle, the Pirates, and Mike Matheny, and some others have said they have this little group they meet once a month, something like you just talked about, or twice a month, where they sit down and have coffee or talk about their struggles and their joys and their accomplishments, and they hold each other accountable. And you got to have that.
And then when you leave there, lastly, you say, keep a song in your heart. Now, that's not something that I would have a tendency to do because I'm not into music. But put it this way. You can select all kinds of music. What kind of music do you select? I mean, I like to listen to my old rock station, Gulf 104 in Tallahassee, where I once worked. And they're still playing the same stuff I played. But that's not advancing you down your Christian walk.
No, I just think it's just keeping you in a good mood, keeping you focused on things. And in the devotionals, there's actually like 10 steps. So I just kind of whacked it down to 3 for the blog.
In the interest of brevity, yeah.
Yeah. You gotta always leave them wanting more, right? So if they want more, they have to get the book.
But what's nice now in today's world, Christian artists, musicians, people are making movies. There is a lot of content out there today that simply didn't exist a couple of decades ago when we were growing up. I mean, I just subscribed to Pure Flix, and I'm amazed. Now, these movies are pretty darn good in terms of the quality of production, the cinematography, the acting. They're not great, okay? They're darn good, and it's really it's very uplifting because I've got this very, very large screen here in our PJNet studio that's like 55 inches. So when I'm working here late at night, I can keep pure thoughts. I'm here by myself. I'm connected to the internet. Okay? I can keep pure and uplifting thoughts.
You're a lonely man, huh?
There you go. And I think, it's important that men, not just men, but all of us, but today we have access to good stuff. Out there that will help you and assist you in your Christian walk. So let's see, in the time we have remaining, which if you don't mind, Dale, we're going to keep it a little short tonight. I've got all kinds of stuff I want to share with our PJNet family, but
that's fine. It's
actually, Dale, I try to think of it as yours. My ministry is to help yours.
I appreciate that.
Your book, First Down Devotions, I've pre-ordered my copy. It's coming out August the 5th. But for those that many of you have already heard about it, because Dale, he kind of talks about it. It's kind of like a grandchild. If you meet Dale, you're probably going to hear about it. But take a moment to share what is First Down Devotions. Let's not assume that, let's say there's a first-time viewer is watching this. What in the world book is this? Why is it? Tell us more.
First Down Devotions is not a football book, first of all. It has the First Down Devotions and the football on it to kind of try to bring you in, because mostly it's for men or young men or wives who want to buy something for their husbands. It's a book to be inspirational, to be leaders. I just happened to use famous NFL players that I interviewed and their stories, because a lot of people love the NFL. They watch the games, they know the players. So chances are they're going to know these names, and they may not know some of the stories behind the person. So it's not about football. I don't give game analogies. I don't give recaps of games, nothing like that. I tell a story from the player's perspective about some of the struggles, some of the triumphs, and so, some of the things they faced and how they faced them. And I mean, I have all kinds of big names, superstars. I have some folks you don't know, but
give us a sampling of some of the names that will be found in the book. Each name has a chapter, right? Basically.
Yeah, and there's some have 2 or 3 multiple chapters. I interviewed Benjamin Watson, who's just a great example of a pro-life man who he retired, but he's going back. He's going to be playing for the Patriots again, who he started his career with. Ben Roethlisberger, obviously, Andy Dalton, Kurt Warner, Jim Kelly. A lot of good coaches are in the book too. We have Kirk Cousins in the book. Adam Vinatieri, we interviewed him. So just on down the list of some famous superstars. We have Anthony Munoz in the book. Anthony's obviously is a gladiator and a great witness and a Hall of Fame. So some NFL superstars are in this book, and a couple of folks you may not have ever heard of, but they're team chaplains or the coaches. We talked to Coach Harbaugh of Baltimore. So got some time. It took me about a year and a half of interviews to get to these people. One-on-one interviews. They're not hearsay. They're my personal time with these players. DeAndre Hopkins was a joy to talk with of Texas. So on down, we have a lot of all-pro players in this book that you may or may not have known about their testimony, but they're bold and they don't back down from it, and they're good examples. We have some folks who said they don't follow the NFL. I get that. The NFL's done that to themselves.
Yeah, I've stopped watching.
Yeah, there's some good players in the league who are making a living. They just happen to play football, and they happen to have inspirational stories that you probably didn't know they went through.
Now, I put your website up there because nobody could spell how to get there based on the phonetics of your name. So there it is on your screen. I presume that if you go to that website, you will have an opportunity not only to find out more about the book, but if you're so inclined to pre-order it. And I'm looking forward to getting my hands on it because I think it would make, from the parts that I have read of it, that it would make a really great study guide for a men's group, because there's just hundreds, thousands of these men's groups that get together, usually on a weekly basis, and I would recommend this for any men's ministry as an asset.
Yeah, and each chapter they're pretty quick reads. They're 900,000 words, so maybe a 4 or 5 minute read. And there's 30 chapters, so it's a pretty short devotional, so it shouldn't take all that long to go through it. We are going to be working on volume 2, so there'll be a volume 2 out in 2021, I think. So we've already got those interviews done, and we're going to do some more this season. But we've got some pretty big names in volume 2 already. In fact, the headliner is going to be Tim Tebow.
Wow,
he's going to be he'll have several in that.
Dale, you're good at what you do. I don't want to marginalize that or anything, but God has really blessed you with access to some really big names that most people could not possibly get to.
Yeah, and I've been fortunate with it because, like when I interviewed Tebow, every media up there was angry with me because they couldn't get him, and I was able to get 3 minutes with him. So I'm fortunate with that. I follow the right steps. I do the right things. I follow the rules. I don't try to be rude or obnoxious or try to cut somebody off. I follow the rules, and I thank people, and they appreciate that. When I was up at Cleveland this past weekend, wanted to talk to 3 certain players, was able to get to all 3 of them, and got a conversation with the person who allowed me that time. So gave me my card. We'll be in touch. You just be nice to people and be kind to people, and you'll be amazed at the return you get.
I think a couple of things that sets you apart from most media members. First of all, most media members only care about the stars of the show. Okay, there are some. I always imagine, after these games, they rush to the quarterback, and I wish I could just be that quarterback one time because I'd get all these cameras focused on me, and I'd say, guys, let me introduce you to my 5 friends, because if it weren't for them, you wouldn't want to talk to me. And then I would step back and put those front line up on the camera and say, those are the guys you need to talk to, because I can't do this laying on my back. It's hard to throw a pass. The other thing is, in the media, those are fair weather friends. They're with you when you're up on top, but boy, given an opportunity, they'll drag you down in the ditch and turn on you. And I have been fortunate to have access to some people, such as Judge Roy Moore. Mm-hmm. The media flocks to him, but they're only interested in what he can do for them. And given the chance, they would skewer him. I'm there as an advocate, and that's kind of the role you're playing, is you're there as a brother in Christ, and you're there to share their story as well as their athletic achievement and all that, but that's just the lead-in to the real story, which is their walk with Christ. And that's what you do that I love, and that's what we do here at PJNet. We want to share your walk with Christ.
Yeah, and it's a joy. That's why, and the people want that. The people are hungry for that, whether the media wants to admit it or not. That's why when Tim Tebow shows up, it is a circus. It's a media circus, and they all want to talk to him. When I was up at the game, when I was up at Columbus, it was funny because one of the gentleman who runs the show, great guy, he's an old baseball guy, and some of the gals who came there from television, they kind of came over and he looked at him and said, "Oh, you're all gussied up tonight for some reason. Normally you're in sweatpants, and now you're in a dress and all dolled up now." And so but people want to hear the stories. I don't care what the media says. People want to hear the stories. That's one of my blog last week about Kurt Warner, when he made that bold proclamation. The stadium went crazy because they want to hear hope. They want to hear good news. And that's what guys like Tim Tebow represent. And so that's why there is such a demand for him. So.
Well, and that's why I like you, Dale, and that's why I feel so honored, to have somebody like you on our team, because we're about good news. The gospel, literally translated, gospel means what? Good news. Yeah. And that's not what the media is about. There's no way in the world that a professional sportscaster is going to ask the kind of questions and give the kind of coverage that you do. So I think you're in the place where God wants you, and you're doing the work God wants you to do. And gosh, Dale, I just want to be an encouragement to you, and I just want to just be a brother to you, and help you in that walk best we can. So, all right, we don't know what we're going to talk about next week. Let's see. Now, wait a minute. Next week, we're getting close, aren't we? No, I'm thinking I'm a month ahead. But the book will be coming out. But, Dale, I appreciate you taking time, and you're very faithful. You're very faithful, and I just know you're very, very busy. So your commitment to be here each Monday night is really, really appreciated.
Well, it's Tuesday night. You're
Tuesday night. I did the same thing when I ran the promo tweet. I put the wrong one up.
Yeah, I know. We Thursday night I'm gonna have a post, and I'll send it to you, because we had a discussion on this earlier about it's a pro-life stance, but I addressed the issue of capital punishment. So, and my position on that, being a pro-life person.
I'd like to talk about that.
So,
because I'm actually opposed to it. And
I know.
But I have reasons why. And I
want to hear those.
Yeah, I have some what I think very intelligent reasons why. Now, by the way, I do believe in capital punishment. If someone walks through my door at night, I will invoke capital punishment right away, after firing a warning shot, right there. No. But as a matter of law, I actually oppose. Believe it or not, as a Christian and as a conservative, I actually oppose capital punishment. So,
and I appreciate your position. So, but yeah, I will. That'll be on Thursday. I think it'll be on Thursday, and I'll send you the post, and we can. Love to hear your opinion.
All right. Well, we can have some fun with that.
Exactly.
Dale, we're right at. As always, we don't time these things. We don't script these things. We basically use Dale's blog as sort of a foundation, as a jumping off point. But it always works out about half an hour, so that's great. So I will not bring any updates tonight on some things that are happening. I'll save those maybe for tomorrow night or possibly Thursday, because tomorrow we have Michelle Medlock Adams, who I wouldn't know if it weren't for you, Dale. And she is a firecracker. Folks, don't miss her tomorrow night right here on PJ Net Live.